Thank you very much, Dr. Feldman, for those nice words. Makes me feel like I'm somebody. And it wasn't even my own funeral. Well, it's a nice, cool, brisk morning here. Chamber of Commerce didn't get the message to make it a beautiful day for us to talk about Florida. Good morning. To so many of you that have joined today, thank you for coming out on this cool, brisk day to help us honor the Challenger crew, and in fact, all those names that are behind me on this beautiful mirror memorial. Well, on behalf of all the Challenger families, I'm happy to be here. We're represented by the Resnick families as well. So hello to you. I thank you for being here to help us honor our loved ones in the spirit of the mission of the Space Shuttle Challenger. It's hard to believe that 25 years has passed since that fateful day, January 1986. We know it when we look at our kids and how they've grown, and we have 9 grandchildren. But like everyone watching around the world, we were stunned to see the unspeakable unfold right before our eyes. Could this really happen? No one believed it could happen. What should have been a day heralded for education turned to tragedy in a split second. Our loved ones were gone. Our nation grieved, and our future looked uncertain. Later, years later, after we lost the beloved Columbia crew, my daughter wrote a letter to those children. She said everyone around the world saw how our Challenger crew, my dad died. They all wanted to say goodbye to American heroes. Me, I just wanted to say goodbye to my daddy. She helped those children to realize that their lives had become very public, but that keep the memories alive of their parents. Ask people that knew them to tell you stories about their dads. I remember being at the memorial service at Johnson Space Center shortly after this accident, watching this missing man formation fly over. One plane, I think you all are aware, one plane pulls up and climbs to the heavens to symbolize the loss, but the other planes continue on to carry on the mission. That's when it dawned on me. Challenger's mission, a mission to teach, was incomplete. Lessons were left untaught. Scientific and engineering problems were left unsolved. But the saddest reality was the impact on the children. The chance to really touch a child and inspire a new generation of explorers. The families of the Challenger 7 realized something very profound. If we didn't somehow continue Challenger's mission of education, then our loved ones would have died in vain. And certainly that entire crew embraced Krista McAuliffe and was known as the teacher in space mission. We couldn't let that happen, that they'd be forgotten. So we began to turn this unimaginable tragedy into a monumental triumph. The entire world knew how the Challenger crew died. We wanted the world to know how they lived and for what they were risking their lives. We, Jane Smith, Lorna Onizuka, Cheryl McNair, Marcia Jarvis, Steve McAuliffe, and Chuck Resnick, all 7 families banded together to create a cause greater than ourselves that would not only take us into the future, but help us to heal our hearts and the hearts of those in our nation. One night, only weeks after the accident, while sitting around in my living room in my home in Houston, we conceived the idea of the Challenger Center, a living tribute to our loved ones, a place that would provide America's students with access to outstanding space science educational opportunities. We envisioned activities where children, teachers, and citizens alike could touch the future, manipulating equipment, conducting scientific experiments, solving problems, working together, immersing themselves in a space-like surroundings, and growing accustomed to the space technology. Our hope was to spark in our young people an interest and a joy in science, a spark that could change their lives. Our vision became reality. When you visit a Challenger Center, you'll see children climb aboard a child-sized space simulator with their teacher and fly a simulated space mission into the future. There they are challenged to apply skills in math and science while working together as a team to complete a successful mission. They learn critical skills needed for the 21st century: teamwork, dealing with adversity, solving problems, and the fundamentals of human interaction. We launched our first Challenger Center in Houston. Today we've grown to a network of 48 Challenger Centers throughout America, as well as in Canada, South Korea, and England. And later today I'll join those folks at the Challenger Learning Center in Houston to celebrate that memory, and which I do every year. I go to a Challenger Center to see children doing what our beloved Challenger space crew loves so much. Well, each year more than 400,000 school students visit one of our centers and experience the thrill and excitement of space exploration. And with our new chairman, Scott Berzinski, I think that number will double in no time. And in the past 25 years, we have reached more than 4 million children. We have strong partnerships with NASA and other federal agencies. Numerous universities and aerospace contractors help us keep our curriculum current through our ongoing evaluation and consultation. And leadership on our board of directors has laid a solid foundation for growth in numerous directions. So you see, Challenger wasn't the final chapter in the book of space exploration, just a transition chapter in this great book. Nor is Space Shuttle the final chapter. As I wrote, and like any good school teacher, I brought my prop along. As I wrote in the Silver Linings book, we are not a nation of naysayers. We're a nation of believers. We're innovators and problem solvers. And yes, risk takers, with a pioneering spirit that began with our forefathers who sailed from Europe to establish and colonize our nation, and then boldly expanded west, exploring, discovering, and building our country. Technology gave us automobiles and locomotives. Then we slipped the early bonds of Earth into airplanes and built the rockets to launch us on the highway to space. We, as a nation, are indebted to the space pioneers who blazed a trail of exploration and discovery. Here at Kennedy Space Center, you've witnessed decades of launch successes, from early Mercury 7 astronauts with Alan Shepard, the Gemini excitement of John Glenn, and the historic days of Apollo and moon landings when we were all glued to the flickering black and white televisions to watch the first steps of Armstrong and Aldrin upon the moon. Then came the shuttle, a space transportation system, a plane with sparkling white wings, designed by creative engineers to launch like a rocket toward the heavens, orbit the Earth, build the International Space Station, launch satellites, collect astonishing images from Hubble, and you've seen those most recently, make discoveries and grow our knowledge, and then glide safely back home to Earth. After Dick Scobee and his fellow astronauts were selected in the first class of 35 shuttle astronauts, I no longer watched the launch of space vehicles from afar. I watched them standing right here with him at Kennedy. We watched the engines ignite and felt that thunderous roar as the first shuttle Columbia lifted off carrying brave astronauts, John Young and my dear friend Bob Crippen, who's here with us today. It was sheer exhilaration that our family of astronauts shared their experiences with us. One was a particularly personal joy after my husband piloted the successful 41C Solar Max mission. Now, it is sad to see the shuttle story approaching the close of its chapter in this mighty history book of space exploration. But the book will continue with new exciting chapters about space programs and more advanced space vehicles to carry us into the next chapters of exciting adventures, discoveries, and achievement, and will benefit and advance the people of our planet. And a new legacy of Challenger Center students will be there, and they'll be ready to accept the challenge of space exploration anew. Why? Because we have whole planets to explore, and we have new worlds to build. In the Silver Linings book, I draw together this rich history of the space program from the early days of von Braun rockets, my teenage Sputnik days, and the discoveries made by NASA astronauts and scientists, to the explorers of today, including this interesting emerging role of private space travel. Returning to our day of remembrance, perhaps President Reagan said it best 25 years ago when, in place of his scheduled State of the Union address, he spoke to a grieving nation. He took care to speak to the children who were watching the live coverage of shuttle's launch. He said, "I know it's hard to understand, but sometimes painful things like this happen. It's all a part of the process of exploration and discovery. It's all part of taking a chance and expanding man's horizons. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them." The president concluded his remarks, "We will never forget them, or the last time we saw them, this morning as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God." That was then. And their names are beautifully emblazoned on the mirror. But this is now. It's time for the next 25 years to unfold. Let us boldly look to the future with a vision built upon our rich heritage of space pioneers. What's on the next horizon for our nation and planet? Well, in 48 cities today, school children will fly a space simulation mission, a Challenger mission, that inspires and motivates them in the sciences and technology, engineering, and math. These children and others are our future engineers and scientists who will build new vehicles to fly in space. Physicians and teachers who will make scientific breakthroughs to improve our lives. And they represent future space explorers who will create the highway to our planets and beyond, who will travel to the unknown to make the discoveries that expand our knowledge and build a better world and keep it safe. Recently, I wrote with famous authors Kevin Anderson and Rebecca Mosta, this is my other prop, a series of young adult science fiction books about the star challengers. Oh, these books are fun. And with a famous science fiction author, they're well received. It's about kids who discover just how important it is to learn the skills of science and math to advance space exploration and keep our planet safe. And they're a lot of fun because they have a mysterious Commander Zota who takes them into the future. Well, and it's here at Kennedy that we stand beneath this astronaut memorial mirror, inscribed with our names of our loved ones, Challenger as well as those of Columbia and Apollo, names that represent people who gave their lives serving the country they loved. We honor them with our presence at this ceremony, and you honor yourselves for paying tribute to them on this day, 25 years after their loss, on this, their silver anniversary. Thank you. Thank you very much.